Broadcasting live from the Zimmer Communications World Headquarters.
Great news for the American people.
This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri with Branden Rathert, featuring Stephanie Bell, News Director Brian Houseworth, John Marsh, and Hannah, the producer.
This is why we listen to you.
Get ready, pal. And now, here's your host, Branden Rathert.
I can't wait.
In for our fearless flip-flopped leader who will rejoin us on Monday. We are celebrating a Feel Good Friday, and sitting in my normal spot is Dr. Ashley Emmel. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
We're glad you are here, and I am feeling really good on Feel Good Friday. We want to hear why you are feeling good. Text us at 573-874-9390. But one reason I'm feeling really good, I saw this clip yesterday, and it gave me all the feels.
Could never do that. I could never do that. I have a Cuban mom that escaped communism, okay? And the only reason I know that is because she told me every morning. So I don't know how you woke up in the morning, but for me, it's good morning, Marcelo. Have a great day, but just remember, I free you. She's a scary woman. In my house, you can't have a bad day. When your mom escapes communism, you can't have a bad day. You get home from school, you're like, Mom, I had a bad day at school. She's like, what happened? What happened that was so bad? Did somebody steal your freedom today?
I think that's great and a good reminder. I think we can really get kind of down on ourselves and like, oh, this was such a horrible day, or I'm having this problem. And later he talks about like, oh, you know, how am I going to explain to my kids that I had a bad day and I missed my Uber Black or whatever, right? And my Uber Black was late and I had this horrible day because he's just not going through the same tribulations that his mother did. And I think it's a good reminder that we still live in the greatest nation on the planet, and that is a reason to feel good and be thankful this Friday.
That's so annoying, though, when you just want to complain to someone and they just one-up you every time.
I know.
Like, just listen to me complain and cry for a minute, please.
Yes. I was also feeling really good yesterday, but also a little skeptical. Are we being punked by our governor? Brian, have you fact-checked? Has the governor gotten a tattoo? Do you know this story?
I don't know. No, I've not heard that. He's going to be here Tuesday to sign the I-70 bill. So, but no, I have not. I've not seen that, or I certainly haven't seen it or heard about it.
Wow. Well, we are. He posted on his Instagram yesterday, which I know that
Go, Mikey P.
Yeah. Which
job.
Brian, I know like Instagram isn't exactly your space, right? You're not on the Instagram all the time.
I'm not. No, I try to stay. Yeah.
We had to create Brian a Facebook account when he started working here
That's
at
true.
Zimmer.
That's true. Exactly. I administer and really do not much of anything else on that.
I think everyone has their preferred platform, and
Sure.
Twitter certainly is yours. As the news director, I think that's probably where we want to see you. But he posted this picture. It is an outline of Missouri with the number 57.
Wow.
It's red and yellow like the Chiefs. It's got a lightning bolt down the middle. And he says 57 is really important to him, that he's Missouri's 57th governor. He got 57% of the vote.
Yes, against Nikki Galloway. That's right.
And that Chiefs won the 57th Super Bowl
Correct.
while he was governor.
That's correct.
The lightning bolt, Brian, I know you're going to love this, is a nod to Elvis Presley's album and motto, taking care of business in a flash.
That I don't know, but
Yep.
okay.
I love that Houseworth
Classic
is
Elvis.
Yeah, I love that Houseworth is fact-checking the governor.
Yes. We need a fact check on this because I showed this to no less than like 20 people yesterday. And I said, do you okay, how old is our governor?
67.
67. Can you imagine going to like Christmas and your grandpa being like, guess what? I got a new tat.
His granddaughter designed it.
That's what he said.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
that she drew it, and then he named a tat. And Ashley,
Yes.
you've been kind of fact-checking.
I did fact-check him.
He named the tattoo artist who's from Branson, and you said, let's check this person out and see if they're a real
He's
tattoo
real.
artist.
It's like a real place
Wow.
that he names.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I talked to, matter of fact, when we first got word of this, I talked to some of our news contacts in Kansas City, and they confirmed it too.
Wow.
It's pretty neat.
That's interesting. We'll see the governor maybe be able to ask about it. I will say this, the governor, there was a little bit of change. Kelly Jones in his office, and you're starting to see a little bit more of this. Kelly Jones, his longtime spokesperson, is now, I want to say deputy, the deputy in charge. I don't know her exact title, or maybe senior, right under Aaron Willard, basically, there at the office. And a young guy named Jonathan Shiflett is the spokesperson, and Stephanie. They're both young, and I have seen, and this is not being critical, I just find it is interesting. There have been more. I'm going to say the governor's gotten a little more hip, if you will, with his new social
With
media
his new
team.
tat.
And before that, and Nick Schroer threw a fit about it. The governor, Taylor Swift, when she came to Kansas City,
yeah.
remember those tweets about Taylor Swift coming to town? Nick Schroer really was, and he basically tweeted, "What is this? And has someone taken over the governor's account?" What's happened is it's a kind of a younger social media team, but I think the tattoo sounds like a lot of fun for him, and all the other stuff outside Elvis, I don't know about that. The other stuff he says in there, I can confirm those are all factual.
Maybe as he's getting towards the end of his term, he's just, kicking back a little bit and going to ride it out and have a little more fun.
I think very exciting, and I can't
I'm
wait.
amazed he didn't get a John Deere tattoo. No,
Right?
That's the next one.
Exactly.
Maybe
gonna
he'll
have-
add it in.
Yeah, a full sleeve coming soon from your governor. I mean, I think tattoos kind of used to be taboo, and we're seeing a lot of different changes. And I think we've got several elected representatives in the state house that have plenty of tattoos. Sure. Why can't your governor have a tattoo? Sure. I just
and it's so small. It's like
but
2
it's on your
inches.
It's on his forearm.
I mean, that's
He
like
wears a suit all the time.
Not necessarily. I am going to the state fair, so I'm going to
You're gonna look for this,
find
aren't you?
him and see if it's real.
Who would have ever thought a tattoo would make news at 6:15 on a Friday morning?
That's true.
Well,
it's the governor.
let's cover the really important story from yesterday. In my mind, the AG was in court yesterday on this Missouri v. Biden case about censorship and social media. The consensus, at least on Twitter, seems to be like it was a very bad day for the government. Matt Taibbi said more specifics in a bit, but I think it's fair to say a lively appellate hearing on the Missouri v. Biden injunction today, and it did not go well for the federal defendants. The Attorney General retweeted that and said, I would tend to agree. I would agree. So there are some breakdowns of how the hearing went on Twitter right now. And yeah, it seems like the judges were resigned that, the federal defendants were going to lose. It doesn't seem like we're going to get an opinion anytime soon, but I think the Attorney General and his staff that's been working on that case walked out pretty confident yesterday. So Missouri back in the news, fighting against the federal government, and I think when we're in that position pushing back against Biden, we're in the right place. So since we're covering the big news of the day is you are going to be able to go get a discount meal at the Mizzou football game, apparently. And I saw there was all these articles in that we're going, it's back to school time. We're going back to school and college, and the Wall Street Journal is saying, this huge headline about college spending being out of control and how they have lots of money and they're, no one's really overseeing it. And so you get that contrast with the national news about college spending, and then all over Twitter, all I see on Mizzou is, guess what? You can get a cheeseburger for $5, which actually, I'm like, some of these prices are better than what you can get,
better.
at fast food. The soda, it was going to be like $6, and now it's like $2. I'm thinking, you could go eat dinner at the Mizzou football game for cheaper than you could a lot of places.
$3 for a hot dog. Try that at Busch Stadium.
And that's true.
Even most high school stadiums have higher prices than that.
I think that's something that the media hasn't really said it, but that gets back to Desiree Reed Francois, what she's been trying to do. there are people who don't like Desiree Reed Francois. Let's make that very clear. Some I've heard criticism, but I've also heard a lot of praise. It just depends on who's saying it. But I will tell you one thing about her. She has said she's listening to the fans in terms of game day experiences. The basketball arena, you can't hear that video monitor when you're at the game. I mean, it's it sounds like it's greatly distorted. It's because of the noise and stuff. So that's something Tim Elliott made a big donation at Atterbury auction. Hate to think how much. We're talking easily $1 million to replace that. They never actually gave the exact amount. But the other big thing she's talked about is the food options, and that goes into effect, as far as I understand it, is the home opener. So that is I think it's a big deal, and you'll feel it in your pocketbook, and also you'll be able to maybe get 2 hamburgers as opposed to 1 if you'd like.
I've got a better solution for everybody.
Okay.
The better solution is our Wake Up Mid-Missouri Zimmer Tiger Tailgate. Get a free ticket. We'll feed you for free before all our Missouri home games.
That was beautiful, John.
That was awesome. That is perfect. Well, we were getting tips earlier this week from our Secretary of State that, I guess Sam's Club has really cheap food that you can go in and eat pretty cheaply. So I liked that tip. And now if you need some more food, you can hit up the Tiger Tailgate or even apparently the Mizzou game. I mean, that soda price, $6 was what it was last year. It's going to go to $2.
Well, and these are family events. You can't take a family without spending a couple $100s at the games on food and admission. So I think that's great.
I like it as we kick off our fall. Also, okay, so coming up, we've got some fun guests. We are going to be joined by Missouri Department of Agriculture Director Chris Chinn at 6:35. Of course, we kicked off the state fair yesterday. We want to hear how that I don't understand.
My head's in the gutter. I'm sorry.
There are a lot of subpoenas. What?
I'm sorry.
There are. And but
Feel Good Friday.
Lots of them.
It is a Feel Good Friday, but the House Oversight and Accountability Committee, which is led by James Comer, he has been all over this Biden situation and has been asking the right questions, I think, and being very methodical about gathering information before he takes any additional steps. And now, I think after the Devin Archer testimony and some of the other facts that have come out, he's saying we're going to move to subpoena the Biden family. And he said it could include the president himself. Obviously, when they were subpoenaing Trump and asking him for documents, he fought that and it ended up in court. I suspect if Comer actually subpoenas any of the Bidens that we're going to see a lot of court action there. But I'm really impressed by James Comer and how he has just been unrelenting, especially when I think a lot of folks are basically on break. I think he's bringing out the right facts, and I think, doing things in the right order to try to build the case and really get to the bottom of what was going on when Joe was vice president, which I think we know was not great. Mm-hmm. And so that is happening. In the meantime, Biden is, it's been a tough week for Biden. With this tragedy in Maui. John, what are we learning this morning about Maui? I think yesterday we reported the death toll was something like 30 and it's up, isn't it?
It's over 50 now, they're saying. And now we've just heard from Gail Blumenkamp and company that a two-man team from Missouri Task Force 1 is en route to Hawaii to help with presumably maybe some of the after effect issues and some of the logistics there. So we'll hopefully keep in touch with that.
Yeah, just absolute devastation, and I know it's going to be a long period of rebuilding, so it's nice to know some of our folks in Missouri are headed that way to help. Also, on Biden's agenda yesterday, the Biden administration and Iran arrived at a deal years in the making. 5 Americans are expected to be released from Iran in exchange for U.S.-held Iranian prisoners. This is also expected to be accompanied by the release of $6 billion in oil assets seized under international sanctions. John, do you recall when you do like a swap like this, does it usually come with an oil deal too?
Well, and the whole thing, I think for a lot of people, it was, all this money, and it's like, oh boy, but we're going to give it back to you, Iran, but you can only use it for humanitarian purposes, not building more nuclear reactors or centrifuges so you can make nuclear bombs. It's, okay.
You're right. So that deal we expect to go through. And then also we've got Mike Pence was on the hot seat apparently yesterday at the Iowa State Fair. All of the candidates are there. Ashley, do you have you don't have to tell me who it is, but do you have a preference yet for 2024?
I do.
Okay, maybe we'll get into
Maybe we'll get to it.
Maybe we'll get into it later. I suspect maybe that preference isn't Mike Pence. And I guess folks walking around the fair yesterday said, they wanted to hear what he had to say, but he's not anyone's first choice, which I think we knew from the polling. But apparently they had kind of a Q&A session, and a couple people stood up and got a little rowdy. We're asking him why he was treasonous. I think someone else asked him, how does it feel for, after Tucker Carlson ruined your career? Of course, when he was in Iowa, he made a statement that basically, what was this? It was like, I don't care about the people, and they aren't my concern. The people of the United States. And
ooh, that's a tough one.
Yeah. And so I guess he tried to double down and say, all he was really saying was, well, I really care about what's going on, in Ukraine. And the people, apparently the crowd at the Iowa State Fair wasn't feeling that.
He's been so absent, though. Like, I've not seen him since he left office. Like,
I know.
Crickets. Complete crickets.
He is trying to campaign, but he's just not gaining any traction, although he did make the debate stage. And so I'm wondering if he will pull a Tucker Carlson and say something like he did before and just, I think it seems like maybe he scooched by after the Tucker mistake, but I think if you make 2 of those, you're probably done. Maybe
you're pushing it.
Maybe he should go get a tattoo.
He should.
And be like, now I'm cool, Mike Pence.
From one Mikey P to another.
Oh, very good. On this Feel Good Friday, I am joined by guest co-host Dr. Ashley Emmel.
Good morning.
I've got producer Hannah.
Hello.
John Marsh and Brian Houseworth will be joining us shortly. We are joined this morning by Director of the Missouri Department of Agriculture, Chinn, and we are so glad you were able to make time for us. We know you are busy, but I wanted to ask you, how did the kickoff for the State Fair go yesterday?
Yesterday was a wonderful day at the State Fair. We had great weather, we had great attendance, and there were a lot of smiles across the fairgrounds.
You must be doing something right, because I'm thinking highs in the 80s in August for the State Fair. I know a couple of times I've been to the fair. It's been awfully hot. So it looks like, I think the forecast for the whole extended fair is looking pretty nice.
It is. It reminds me of the 2017 fair. We had wonderful weather that year. We had record-breaking attendance. We said a lot of prayers coming into this week that we would have great weather. We always joke that if you want rain, we just need to hold the State Fair. And, knock on wood, we're going to get some rain, but not during some of our main events.
Now, yesterday, Mizzou was a focus. Who from Mizzou was there, and what occurred related to Mizzou yesterday at the fair for those who missed it?
So yesterday, Mizzou was the sponsor of the day. So we had President Moon Choi here, and we had Dean Dalbert from Kaffner. We had the extension there. We had all sorts of our athletics department were represented. It was a really great day. They had a great presence on the fairgrounds, and they brought a lot of excitement to opening day.
Director Chinn, we appreciate you, and I know you're very busy at the fairgrounds this morning, so we appreciate you taking the time to join us. One of the things that happens every year with the State Fair is there's a lot of awareness about the issue of hunger, and I know Cargill and Tyson and the family farmers, a lot of folks from your department get together as well to raise awareness and actually to bag some food basically for the needy. When is that? In what's your impression of this food insecurity issue right now that the folks are facing, not just in rural but urban Missouri as well, Director?
Yeah, so that you're talking about our Drive to Feed Kids event. We're partnering with Missouri FFA. It'll be held next Tuesday. We'll have more than 800 FFA students on the fairgrounds. Their goal is to pack 150,000 meals that will be divided up between the 6 regional food banks in Missouri. It's also $2 Tuesday, so you can get in for $2. And what's really neat this year is that Martin Rice has donated all of the rice to go into the food packing event, and that was a huge commitment from them, and we're really happy that they were able to do that. In the state of Missouri right now, 1 in 7 children is food insecure, and the fact that Missouri FFA students want to help their own, I think, is an amazing statement. These kids give up one of their last days of summer to come do a service project, and they come with big smiles, and they always walk away feeling good with what they have done that day at the fair.
That's great. Is Martin Rice down in the boot heel?
They are, yes.
That's what I thought. Okay. Thank you, Director.
Good morning, Director. I have a question. Since the law was changed a couple years ago for schools to start later, more for that entertainment purpose to generate revenue, how has that affected the State Fair? Do you have more turnout from young families and children attending?
We absolutely do. And actually that was changed so that more students would be able to exhibit their projects at the Missouri State Fair. Our FFA and 4-H students would work all year long on a project and then find out that the school start date was interfering with their show date. So pushing that back a few days has allowed those kids to come to the State Fair and show their exhibits and show the hard work that they put into it year round.
We are talking with Chinn, who is the director of the Missouri Department of Agriculture.
Director, talk to us where we're at with our extreme drought in Missouri, even with all the rain we've had. What are you hearing from farmers already?
The rains that we've seen in the last 10 days across the state of Missouri has really been a benefit, but unfortunately it's not enough to get us out of that drought. The damage that we've seen throughout the summer of having to feed hay early has really hurt our cattle industry. Our row crop farmers, many of them were hearing their corn crop is ruined. They're not going to be able to have any corn to harvest. Some of them say that the rain has helped their soybean crop, and they're looking forward to having a better soybean harvest than they thought before the rains came. But really, we need to have more of these rains continue to come to fill up our ponds for the cattlemen and to bring up our soil moisture for our row crop farmers as well.
So say I haven't been to the fair in a while. I was there last year. I'm going next week. I'm very excited. But say, I've taken a break from the fair and I'm headed back. What are the things that I should be looking for this year? Any new things? Maybe I'm familiar, but I haven't been there in a while. What do I need to see?
One of the things that you'll run into on the Missouri State Fairgrounds this year is the strolling piano. It's a new event this year. It's really great at crowd interaction. He's been a big hit singing a lot of local favorite songs. He's been a lot of fun. We're going to have the Shenanigans Comedy Wild West show again. That hasn't been back for several years. It's a fan favorite, so we're excited about that. There's been a lot of remodeling going on at the State Fairgrounds, so some of our old historic buildings have had a little bit of a facelift, more kind of maintenance side, but also it just really improves the look of the fairgrounds as well.
Nice. And what else can we expect as far as musical acts or big performers coming up?
Well, we have a great concert lineup. Tonight is Lainey Wilson. The concert sold out in 3 hours when the tickets went live. Wow. And last night we had Tyler Hubbard and Parmalee. So Tyler Hubbard was with Florida Georgia Line, and, that was a great show. Saturday night we have Three Doors Down with Candlebox. And then next Wednesday night, we have Corey Asbury and Kane. On the 17th, which is next Thursday, the Country Comeback Tour with Shenandoah, Billy Bean, and Wade Hayes. And then next Friday is a really popular concert again, Nelly, Missouri local native. And so he's been very popular. We only have about 2,000 tickets left to sell for that concert. And then we will finish out our concert lineup on Saturday night, the 19th, with Riley Green and Randy Hauser.
That is so great. I know I am personally looking forward to the Nelly concert. I know, and I want you to talk a little bit about what activities are for kids. I took my kids, and it was funny. We were fishing this year, and they pulled out, this is the fishing lure that I made. And I said, wait a minute, where'd you make a fishing lure? And remember, Mom, at the fair. And so there are these big acts, but I think people forget you can walk around. There's so many different activities and things for the kids to learn and educate themselves. I know Hannah did a lot of ag work and FFA stuff. So what other smaller activities are going on for families?
So we have the kids stage, and we have Mr. Stinky Feet on there, the Chicago Honey Bears, and Kenny Ahern. We also have a new comedy act that'll be here towards the end of the fair. John Cassidy is his name. He is an amazing kid-friendly comedian. He does a lot of balloon work, just a really fun, high-energy show. So that would be something fun to do with your kids. Of course, we always have Otto, the talking car. You can go through all of our buildings because there's always something there for the kids to interact with. And then I would also encourage you to take your kids into the livestock barns and the arenas, especially if they've never been around the livestock, and talk to kids their age to see what it's like to take care of these animals, what it's like to show at the state fair. And another thing is to go through the 4-H building, because you will see so many amazing projects in there. That we have a lot of talented kids in the state of Missouri.
I think it's rare that we see bipartisan issues these days, and we talked to some childcare folks in childcare earlier this week, and I think Democrats and Republicans are really coming together on that issue to try to find creative solutions. And I'm always impressed when I'm at the governor's ham breakfast. I think it's one of the only events where I see I see many Democrats and Republicans. It's kind of a can't miss event. Any expectations for this year's breakfast?
Well, we're hoping to have great weather. We have less than 200 tickets left to sell for the Governor's Ham Breakfast. So once again, it'll be a very crowded event. We're excited. We're expecting members of the congressional delegation will be present with us. We're hoping that, it's a great breakfast, a great turnout, and we're just excited to have our legislators on the fairgrounds. For some of them, it'll be their first time to the Missouri State Fair. So we're excited to showcase Missouri agriculture. We like to say that the State Fair is the state's largest family reunion for agriculture.
Chris, the only other thing I would recommend, you've got lots of food options there. I know my doctor's listening this morning, but because I've had
no fried Twinkies for you, Brian.
I've had, in moderation, but yes, I've enjoyed some funnel cakes over there over the years. But I got to tell Chris one thing: Don Nicodem at the Missouri Pork Place restaurant, they've got a new item. A couple of years ago, they unveiled it, and it's literally, I think it's called, it's like a candy pork. It's like pork that tastes like candy. It is amazing. Chris, have you had that yet? It's incredible. Don Nicodem showed it to me, and I had to say I enjoyed it.
I have had it. Actually, the governor was on grounds yesterday for opening day, and it's candied bacon.
Yes.
We took him by the pork place, and he was able to enjoy it. They gave us a heaping plate full. So, yes, it's a fan favorite. We try to get it every single year. It's like eating dessert first.
Yes, it is. It is. And Don Nicodemus been around forever. I've known Don for probably 30 years during the flood of 93. So, and Chris, I can't thank you enough. I really appreciate it.
I know on my regular route, so I'm going to add this pork food item to my regular route, but I also really enjoy the Gherkin Dairy Center where we can go get ice cream and see the butter cow. Do you talk to the other states about fairs? Because I know the Iowa State Fair is going on. Do they always overlap like this? And I mean, do you talk to the other director of ag? Like maybe we can stagger a little bit so people can enjoy both.
You know, we do talk about this quite a lot. The Indiana State Fair, the Illinois State Fair, the Iowa State Fair, the Missouri State Fair, we all overlap. You see that a lot in the Midwest. And we joke about, hey, could you guys stop overlapping my state fair? But really what it is it works better for the entertainers because they're able to hit all of the fairs on the circuit, especially the musical acts. They really like it because they're able to hit all of the fairs, and it works great for their traveling schedule. We always joke we'd like to move the Missouri State Fair in July because it always brings the rain, and that's when our farmers need the rain.
That's really wonderful, and I liked how you described the fair as a reunion. I've had an opportunity to visit the ham breakfast the last couple of years, and you just see people hugging and smiling, and you know, politics kind of goes out the window, and everyone just feels thankful for the food that our farmers are providing for us and all of the hard work that they put in all year around. So thanks for joining us. Anything else you'd like to add before we let you? Well, I think we have a question from John Marsh. John.
Yeah, Director, I think the question to you is, you're going to follow the governor's lead and maybe get a MOAG logo tattoo?
Yeah, I don't think I'm ready for a tattoo yet, not a permanent one. But he was here yesterday. We did get to see his tattoo. It is a real tattoo. He's very proud of it.
Fact checker.
Confirmed.
Yeah.
We were trying to fact check that this morning. So you're telling us this morning, breaking news on Wake Up Mid-Missouri, that it is a real tattoo, not a stick-on.
Yeah, it is a real tattoo, and it's very personal. It has doing.
Yeah, we were guessing this morning because I told people yesterday, and they said, no way. But, okay, well, breaking news this morning, the tattoo's real, and maybe his whole cabinet should get, that you can go in for matching tattoos. All right. Well,
we joked about that yesterday. He said nobody could get that tattoo. They could make it different, but they couldn't get the same one that he had.
I like that. I like that. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us. We wish you really nice weather for the fair and hope to see you up there next week. joined by guest co-host Dr. Ashley Emmel.
Good morning.
And producer Hannah.
Good morning.
John Marsh is with us too.
You betcha.
And John, yesterday we talked about this lady who crashed her car and then got out with a hatchet and started threatening. This was it here in Mid-Mo.
That sounds like a Florida woman story.
Construction workers.
It did. It was a woman who was in a pickup truck, and they say that their accusation was she was driving drunk, went up to the Missouri River Bridge, the approaches to the Missouri River Bridge at Jefferson City, and drove through hit the barricades and the sign, flattened her tire, then jumped out and allegedly started threatening the workers on the bridge, blaming them for her accident and waving a hatchet around.
Oh, my gosh.
Then I get on the websites yesterday. Columbia woman faces felony charges after alleged hammer attack.
Yeah, that's the latest one. Now,
That's hammer time.
hammer time, exactly.
Isn't that the Pelosi? Didn't they have a hammer in the Paul Pelosi thing?
They did.
Yeah,
They
it's
sure
the
did.
dog days of summer, y'all.
God.
I mean,
Tell you what.
so this lady just attacked her friend, I guess, with a hammer, allegedly.
Not a very good friend. No, my grandparents in Columbia several years ago had a very pregnant woman pull a baseball bat on them in like a drive-through. And it was one of the more wild stories I'd heard at that time. But these might take the cake.
Well, I think I found an explanation. On CNN yesterday, they had an opinion piece that said we no longer know how to behave in public. And I
Yes.
tend to agree. And you know how they've called it hot girl summer? They said we are officially in bad audience summer. And it made me think of this hatchet and hammer lady. But they talked about all these incidents of audiences throwing things at performers. We've seen numerous. And who was it lately? Oh, Cardi B, who fought back. I mean, she threw something. What'd she throw?
She threw her microphone.
Threw a mic
But it was
at him, yeah.
confusing because just minutes before she was telling people to throw water at her because
Yeah.
I guess it was hot. But this lady threw it in her face. So that made her not so happy. Yeah, she chucked her mic at her.
She's kind of a wild card, but people are also saying, in movie theaters, there have been numerous incidents of people just behaving badly. All of our...
Yes. Okay. I saw Sound of Freedom last week, right?
Yes.
And these two women came into the movie. I'm not even kidding. 30 minutes late. I'm like, at that point, why did you even show up?
That I couldn't handle that.
But they come in 30 minutes late. The lights are already off, obviously. They both have their phone flashlights on, trying to find a seat.
Rude.
They're talking at full volume, not even trying to whisper. And then they just continue to talk through the whole movie. I was irritated.
I mean, they could have been carrying a hatchet.
They could have had their hammer.
I guess
Well,
that's
it could have been
true.
like that. What was the one we saw where they had the fight because the woman was playing on the internet through the whole movie?
I think she was like letting her kid play video games, which I've been in like restaurants where they've had the kid on like some weird YouTube channel without headphones. And I mean, so all of this bad, I mean, it used to be relegated to airplanes where you could just act a fool and get away with it because like we were all trapped there. But now I guess it's getting into movie theaters, concerts, car accidents, all of this stuff.
Everywhere.
Well, Stephanie, the equivalent of that in our building is when people edit audio at their desks and they don't wear headphones. And so everybody in the office gets to listen to
Over and over and over.
Yes.
Yeah, that's rough. Well, the Wall Street Journal in better news, is asking how many wedding dresses is too many. And they said, why just one? And my answer, what? Student loans.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
why.
Yes.
Ashley, how many wedding dresses did you
One.
have?
I had one.
I had one.
They're so expensive.
How many are you planning to have?
One.
I think maybe I would get like by Dr. Ashley Immel of Compass Chiropractic.
Good morning.
Good morning. All right, I need to issue an apology and for something I missed yesterday, and add this to my file of things that I am learning this week. I'm learning a whole lot of things. Apparently, there's no rhyme or reason to naming generations, and it's just like random and whatever everyone decides to call it through pop culture and maybe books, and I think that is wild. Since we have so much order and naming conventions. I mean, we have a specific thing about naming storms, but we just let whatever go when we name generations. I think that's wild. The other thing I'm learning, someone texted in yesterday. We were talking about malls. Reddy in Columbia met at the Columbia Mall this week, and they were talking what do we need at our mall, and people were texting things in, and someone just randomly texted. I think they texted chicken pickle. And I ignored that text because I'm like, I don't know what. I mean, that could mean so many things.
I kind of thought they were talking about Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, but it was just chicken pickle. And yesterday I was at a different event and was talking to some folks from St. Charles. And we said, well, what's new in St. Charles? And they said, we're getting a chicken and pickle. And suddenly the light bulb went off. And I thought, oh, that's what that text was about. It wasn't chicken pickle. It was chicken in pickle. And apparently, you've seen this. It's in Kansas City.
Kansas City, downtown Kansas City.
I think we're going to have to take a field trip because apparently it's a restaurant and a bar that serves chicken, but also has indoor pickleball courts.
Alcohol and pickleball.
It's very exciting. And so this ad says food, fun, and pickleball. Chicken and
pickle shots, I'm sure.
And pickles for Columbia. All the pickleball courts here in Columbia, it would be very fitting.
Oh, I think it would be. And with our weather, having indoor pickleball, and I was saying, there's so much space at the mall. That seems like a really good idea. But apparently they're in, I think, is it downtown Kansas City?
Yeah.
But they're I guess, opening a new location in St. Charles soon. So maybe Columbia can get in on the list and we can have a chicken and pickle. But I have to apologize to whoever texted me that yesterday. I think it is a good solution. I just needed to educate myself about chicken and pickle, apparently. All right. So yesterday, big news, Attorney General in court over this Facebook and other social media censorship with Biden. The government was making their arguments, and apparently it was not a very good day for the government, according to all of Twitter. The Attorney General did do a quick recap on his social media about the case, and he claims Biden's lawyer seriously insinuated COVID caused a lot in the world to change, and thus government censorship is permissible. I don't think that argument's going to fly, but I need to ask our friend and Representative Rudy Veit, who is also, beyond being a state representative, he is a lawyer. How do you think that argument's going to fly? Can you just throw your rights out the window if you got COVID?
Well, first off, I listened to you on the way in, and I saw your love for subpoenas, so I brought all my documents related to this morning.
Okay, great.
And I even brought my records from last night at Montauk County Ham, where they had 200-some kids selling hams. I brought all my records for that, so if you need anything else, just call. Don't subpoena me.
Okay, perfect. Well, how do you think these arguments are going to fly? You think the Attorney General stands a good chance here?
Well, that's a pay grade above me because I haven't seen both sides of the brief, but that's a touchy area because we want freedom of the internet, we want freedom of speech, and, but that's any freedom of speech case. You can't yell fire in a theater and that, but there's a gray line to mix, so you're not going to get a clear answer out of me on that one without reading the briefs, and that's what we have Supreme Court judges for.
That's a very lawyerly answer. I like it. But you bring up a good point. We got to talk to Director Chinn about the state fair, but there's lots of local events going on, too, to support our kids in FFA and our local students. What other events have you been attending as we are in our summer of county fairs?
Well, we have, in every community, we have all the sports going on. We have a lot of traveling sports teams. You got the parish picnics, which is people getting together. They have their own little contests, and some of them seem actually gambling going on, but or looks like it. But you have the bingos, but there are so many different counties. They all have their fairs, and these kids work. Last night from Montauk County, 204 kids showing hams and bacon. That's a lot of kids participating.
Yes. That's amazing.
And I was there last night, and I didn't go into the sale barn, but we kind of walked by. It was packed.
Did you buy anything?
No.
You didn't bring us a ham?
I did not.
Well,
I did not.
You should have came by. The ones I bought, I gave back to the kids.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's great.
That is awesome. And I'm glad, Hannah, and you were able to get there. That Montauk County Fair, great tradition. Of course, California, Missouri, huge agriculture, and Burger Smokehouse, and, of course, the Cargill presence as well. Representative, I want to change direction just very briefly. You chair corrections in public institutions, and I was in the courtroom a week ago today and again Monday. A guy named Ricky Murray, many of our listeners will know this, is going to go to prison. It's not a question if. He is going to prison. He admitted killing a guy at Douglas Park during a dice game, apparently over $3. They amended the murder charge down to voluntary manslaughter and 2 other felonies, so he will be sentenced in September. But the issue last week that Derek Rowe, the defense attorney, raised in open court, I was right there, he said his client Murray has high blood pressure and that he wanted the judge, Brooke Jacobs, to sentence him in the fall, delay sentencing, because he said his client, who's, again, going to go to prison, has high blood pressure and needs air conditioning in prison. So they had a discussion in open court about the air conditioning at the Fulton prison. I've seen Erica McGuire on Channel 17 raise this issue as well in a media report. Are you hearing anything from either inmate families or others about the air conditioning at the Fulton prison? Any reaction to what I heard in court?
Well, I've heard that for years because I'll go in the residential areas and I've been in the where the prisoners were, and it does get hot. But if one judge starts making an excuse for or deviating from the standard for one particular person, there could be a lot of collateral consequences. And that situation, if he truly has that medical condition, could probably be handled better by the division itself than for judges individually taking each inmate and deciding what is the proper place to put them as far as air conditioning. Okay,
and I do want to point out for the listeners to clarify, Judge Brooke Jacobs did not delay the sentencing. I want to make that very clear. He did not, because the Probation Pro Board still has to write a SAR, sentencing assessment report. But I'm simply pointing it out that the public defender really requested it. It's still going to take a month to 2 months to write the SAR anyway, so the guy's going to be sentenced in the fall. But the bottom line is it came up, and I've never heard that ever in open court like that.
Medical conditions are always part of your client's condition when you're making your case to the court. I mean, some people have different medical conditions than others and mental conditions, and some of his medical conditions may be why his case ended up being pled down to where it was.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Rudy, I pulled up the Dateline episode the other day, searching around for something to watch on TV, and I said, wow, this is Rudy's bill. It was a Circle of Hope church-run group home in Humansville and Agape House that these church-run daycares that were allegedly abusing young people in their care, and they literally, until you drafted the bill, they had no responsibility to allow any state inspectors or any oversight, did they?
No, but it's still a work in process. I just had a call within the last 2 months of another situation, and the good part of it is, while there's the place, I mean, they have some rules like you cannot make contact with your child for 30 days, and then it's only by telephone if they're listening and all this stuff. But the good part of it was they're aware of it now, and the problem arose them. They realized it. The Attorney General's office stepped up to help us where it was needed. The social services that were involved. And while we never eliminate bad actors, we certainly can hopefully discourage them and get access to the facility to see what's going on and make sure that, it's just not a disgruntled parent or disgruntled child, but that actually is a problem. And so, it's getting done what it wanted to be done. You would think you would never need such a law, that people would treat children good, but unfortunately, if they carry axes or hammers and hatchets out in their car to attack people, who knows what goes on behind closed doors.
All right, we are speaking with Representative Rudy Veit.
Good morning, Rudy. Thanks for joining us this morning. Can you tell us what we can expect from the veto session?
Well, I have talked to a lot of lobbyists because there were some bills in there in my district that we would have liked the governor not had vetoed. But the bottom line is, the governor gives us a budget. We then put our part in our individual counties and statewide opinions in it. They go back to the governor. The governor has a role to do, which is, one, make sure we don't overspend, but he also has to go through and look at bills and see if the collateral consequences. They have the time to analyze them and go through. And I don't think anybody's going to do anything on those bills, and it's on the budget items. I hope if the House were to do something, there would be a pass in the Senate if they're going to do something. I don't think there's a pass on either side that you're going to get a uniform enough people together to do anything. And so, yeah, unless they have some clear paths between leaderships, and they got a couple and everybody's on board, I hope we just kind of go through and don't stand around and listen to a lot of campaign speeches from the floor.
All right, that's what we can expect in September. And if you want to hear more from Representative Veit about the AG's race, the governor's race, the abortion initiative, I got a bit of a preview yesterday. He will be on Scott Vaughn's show, This Week in Missouri Politics, this weekend. So be looking for that. Anything else you'd like to add while you're joining us, Rudy?
Well, if everybody worked as hard as you did, we would certainly have would not have a labor shortage.
I'm trying.
We'd have over people with no jobs because there wouldn't be anything left to do. You'd have it all done.
I like that. And John, you got to throw it. Did you talk to Rudy? Rudy, have you gotten a tattoo yet? Are you going to join the governor?
Ask him that.
No, but that took the wind out of my sails with arguing with my grandson why he shouldn't have one.
Uh-oh.
Maybe you get one with him.
Yeah, there you go. Matching tattoos. I like it. Well, thanks for joining us this morning. We appreciate it, and we will be watching that veto session closely. 25-ish, which means it's...
Yay, you did it.
I
It's
finally got it.
7:25.
All right.
Oh, John, that was terrible.
It was.
That was awful.
That was pretty bad, wasn't it?
It was pretty bad. Loser of the week right there.
Which is a good reminder. Text us your winners and losers. We're going to do that at 8:35. So 573-874-9390.
Now, Stephanie, you know how much I love sharing weird animal stories.
So many animals. I sent you some article about how like the animals are rising up against us. And with the frequency of your animal stories, I think that fact check is true.
It's too easy at this point. Like the animal stories are a dime a dozen. They're even more entertaining than Florida man stories.
Truly.
And
I like the one with the guy in the bear suit.
Oh, yeah. A couple weeks ago, there was a Chinese zoo that had gone viral because people were accusing them of having a dude in a bear suit, like in one of their exhibits. It was a bear in like Southeast Asia or something like that walks around.
Sun bear, you said.
Yeah, walks around on its hind legs, and people were, accusing the zoo of having a human dressed up in a bear suit.
So silly.
This one is here in the States. It actually is in Florida. I didn't even intentionally do that, talking about Florida man stories. But we're going to talk about Florida peacocks. Specifically in the
Peacocks or peacocking?
Peacocks.
Okay.
We'll see how many times I can say that without losing it. But there is a community called Pinecrest, population of about 18,000. And it's considered an affluent neighborhood, according to Smithsonian Magazine. And they have a little bit of a peacock problem. They are being overran by a peacock population that keeps growing. And they don't want to, hunt them or put them down or anything like that. I would have assumed
they were, endangered or, protected or something, that you can't hunt them. Can you?
Oh, no.
I don't think they're endangered.
Can you eat them?
My neighbors in Callaway County had peacocks, and they are as annoying as you can imagine.
They're loud,
yeah,
right?
They're very
never
loud.
Shut up.
Yeah. And they're big, and they kind of are mean. I've only seen them once, I think, in person, in the wild when I went on my honeymoon. And in Jamaica, they kind of roamed around. Mm-hmm. Have you seen them in person? Well, John, you've got a neighbor. Hannah, have you seen one?
I have, yeah.
They're beautiful.
But the Pinecrest community, they don't want to harm the peacocks in any way. They submitted a plan to the Miami-Dade County Commission. Their plan was approved, and they're calling it the Peacock Mitigation Plan. And this plan, they are going to give the male peacocks vasectomies.
What?
So that they can't keep reproducing. And it keeps the peacock population in Pinecrest, Florida, under control.
Is that better or worse than just hunting them?
Or can we just sell them to other states?
12 gauge might be easier.
Yeah, but the community is planning to spend $7,500 a month on these vasectomies for these peacocks.
Oh my God.
I feel like an entrepreneur needs to come in and be like, let's make a business out of this. We'll take your male peacocks and sell them to other peacock farmers.
I like this.
Yes.
And there's feathers
for $7,500.
And feathers are big business, even right
They
here in
are.
Missouri. There's got to be some money in that.
There has to be.
I don't know, but they've hired a vet, and it sounds like this plan is a go.
I didn't think a whole lot would be worse than Columbia spending money on butterfly sanctuaries or whatever we were doing there in the medians.
That was just an excuse for Columbia to not mow.
But peacock vasectomies is definitely worse. All right, up next, what drink you should be drinking. Rathert. Branden joins us again on Monday. I've got Dr. Ashley Immel in studio and producer Hannah and John Marsh and, of course, Brian Houseworth. We have officially fact-checked and confirmed with breaking news this morning that the governor's tattoo was seen in person by the director of the Department of Agriculture, and she confirmed it is an actual tattoo. It is not a temporary or a sticker or anything like that. It is. She
also confirmed she would not follow his lead.
I know. There is a picture. Hannah posted it on our Facebook page, and it's a picture too of him showing the tattoo to Patrick Mahomes because, of course, the tattoo is also kind of a nod to his love for the Chiefs.
Yeah, he's in the middle of like a Chiefs huddle, and front and center is Pat Mahomes just showing off that ink.
57th Super Bowl too.
Yeah, I didn't realize that the 57 weaved through so many Parson adjacent like things. So he's the 57th governor. He got 57% of the vote, and the Chiefs won the 57th Super Bowl all while he's been governor. So, someone asked on the text if I have a tattoo.
Stephanie can't show us where hers is.
Yeah, I got a tramp stamp. I do not.
Can we say that on the radio?
I don't know. There's probably another name now for it, but I don't have a tattoo. I've thought about it, and I think that's really the important thing about tattoos, though. You really got to love it because you're kind of stuck with it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what I find so... First, I find it interesting that as a 67-year-old, you just go out and get your first tat. I think that's awesome. But second of all, it's really meaningful. And I think he explains the meaning. It's a nod to an Elvis lyric. It's red and yellow for the Chiefs. The 57, it's got the state of Missouri. His granddaughter drew it. I think so. Maybe I will be 67 by the time I decide on something very meaningful.
But I just have another 10 years.
I'm not opposed to it, but I just haven't found something that
How about the Wake Up Mid-Missouri logo?
Right?
Yeah.
We could be like some of those restaurants where if you if you tattoo it on your body, you get a special prize or
free Subway for life.
No, I'm not against tattoos. I'm kind of with Stephanie. I'd want it to be meaningful. I've always kind of said I wouldn't get any tattoos before I was married just because... For whatever reason, in my wedding photos, I don't want to have tattoos.
Because you want to be pure.
I guess so. Yeah.
Okay. They can also edit those out, Hannah.
I know.
That's right. Big business for the dermatologist,
right.
Isn't it?
I'm really trying to convince the fiance, though, to get tattoos on our honeymoon.
I guess maybe I just lied. Fact check on myself. I have a tattoo on my face. My eyebrows are actually tattooed on. And I like to ask my husband, I say, did you ever think you'd be married to a woman with a face tat?
Post Malone, is that you?
Yeah, right? So big tattoo news on this Feel Good Friday. I love it. Also, other news, Mizzou is drastically slashing their prices for the stadium. For the games, you can get a cheeseburger for just $5, a hot dog for $3, and a soda for $2. It's crazy, but we're going to need that extra cash because Disney's streaming services are going up. Hannah, are you so sad?
I am. I've already been kind of considering canceling Disney Plus. The only reason I haven't is because I share it with my sister-in-law.
Illegal.
You can't say that.
Don't admit to any crimes on.
Well,
they are also cutting down on sharing, I think.
They are.
You can have 2 profiles on there. Maybe
Are
not.
you living in the same household?
You are, right?
Sure they are.
Yeah. But so we talk about Disney, but Disney actually has the 3 streaming services, right? So this includes Disney, Hulu, and ESPN. And I think for each of them, the prices are going up. And I think they said once the price increase happens, Hulu will actually be more expensive than Netflix. I kind of bounce back and forth, and I think actually I have them all, and I should probably, stop doing that. But originally you kind of. The idea of these streaming services was that it would save you money, and I think
doesn't.
I don't think
It's
it
more
does
expensive now because they've gotten together and they've divided and conquered, so you can't get everything you want to watch on one streaming outlet. You have to have them all to watch the things you want to watch.
You have to have them all, but I guess when Netflix went to the anti-sharing and they've even raised their prices, it's actually shown growth in revenue for them, and so I think the other streaming services are looking at that model and saying, well, if they can raise their prices and cut down on sharing and make more money, then I think that's a model that might work for us too. So unfortunate, and people might be having to audit and edit their streaming services. I know I probably should, although I'm kind of in that camp as I'm a sucker for a subscription, and then it's just annoying to have to try to cancel it and remember your password, and it's just, I might as well just keep paying, I guess.
Well, I don't have cable, so like we only use streaming services, which is really great. Until recently, we've been having issues with our smart TV not wanting to connect to the internet, so that's created some challenges.
You could just get an old school TV, and then you wouldn't have those problems.
Yeah, right? Rabbit ears.
Yeah, I literally have those at my house. And the other night when we had severe weather, what was that, last Friday in Ashland?
Yeah, it was severe.
We got out the rabbit ears so we could watch the live coverage and we turned on the Eagle to listen to what was going on. But I think I guess Brian told us, John, that we might have some more severe weather today, right?
Well, stray shower or thunderstorm in the forecast today with a high of 95. Then there's a chance storms could linger around tonight and then come back on Sunday.
Okay, well, keep an eye out for that. I know it kind of caught me by surprise last week. This weather has been moving quickly. I had to laugh when I saw, we talked about spices last week on Friday and what should be in your cabinet. And I said, I'm familiar with like the 12-bottle bar, but I'm not really familiar with the 8-spice cabinet.
That says a lot about you, Stephanie.
I think the article got it wrong. Well, we're back on cocktails today, so get excited. So this, and the terminology, what?
Peacocks, cocktails, and subpoenas.
Awesome.
Feel Good Friday.
This is not from the Wall Street Journal. This is out of the New York Times, and it says, hey, there's a new look for cocktails, layers and stripes. And the words they use, I think I found really interesting. And has anyone heard of the fajita effect?
No.
It makes sense, and I know what they're talking about, but I had to read the whole thing to figure it out. And so they're saying, when you're at a Mexican restaurant and someone orders the fajitas and they're sizzling and they're walking by and you can smell them and it's all exciting, suddenly you look over and you're like, you know what sounds good? Fajitas. And so it has this effect of like drawing people to order more fajitas. And they're saying the same thing is happening with cocktails, that the prettier these things are, they've got these layers, they look, and so they put them on a tray, walk them through the restaurant, and
Chocolatinis.
Yes, espresso martinis is on the list, John. How many espresso martinis have you had in your lifetime? I think I've only had one. What about you?
No, I'm straight vodka martini guy.
But yeah, like a tequila soda or a vodka soda isn't cute on a tray, but these really cute drinks, apparently, what?
I fell victim to this on my 21st birthday.
Did you order that upside down pineapple thing after you saw your fiance with it?
No, I didn't. We were
But you said he saw other people walking around at the fair. And then he was like, I got to have one of those.
Yeah, Anchorfest in Centralia. I mean, you see people walking around with a whole pineapple drinking out of it. It's going to get your attention.
So what got you on your 21st birthday?
We were eating out at dinner with my parents, and I kept seeing this really pretty-looking martini go by. I think it was like a snickerdoodle martini or something like that. Ugh. And I was like, oh my gosh, that looks good. It sounds good. I hated it. I hated it.
And it was probably like $17.
Yeah, I had to plug my nose to get through it because I'm like, it's my 21st birthday. It's my first drink I've ordered out. Like, I have to finish it.
Yeah, you learned your lesson.
Yes.
That is a classic 21-year-old move. But this article also uses other terms that I thought were really hilarious. So they're like, how do you get these beautiful layered drinks? Well, you got to apply two different things. Floaters and sinkers.
And the old tequila sunrise formula back in the day.
John is on it. That they said that is that's the classic. And there's one that I really like, and it's a new take on a mimosa, and you do like a Malibu, and pineapple, right? But you pour the grenadine in the bottom, and it's so pretty, and it reminds me of old tequila sunrises, which I also made mistakes when I was 21 ordering tequila sunrises. But they said, there's things like juice and what spritzes and kind of like wine, where like champagne you can apply. And then there are other things that you can find that sink, and it makes these like beautiful, pretty looking layered drinks that apparently entice not only 21-year-olds, but other people as it walks through the bar.
The most indecisive decision I've had to make in the wedding planning process has been what I wanted my signature cocktail to be for the wedding reception.
We didn't even have these things when we were getting married.
It's like a thing now.
Back then it was just Bud Light. I don't know what it is now. A keg.
It's like a thing now. Like if you want to do an open bar, but you don't necessarily want to have to purchase a ton of different alcohol, you just, like, the groom will have a signature drink and the bride will have a signature drink. And then after that, you just have like your canned beer and stuff like that.
Okay.
And so
is it open bar for the other stuff, or just they get those 2 free drinks, otherwise they're on their own?
Ours will still be open bar, but as far as like mixed drinks, you're just only going to have the 2 options.
Got
or
it.
you can grab a can of something. But I have had a hard time picking my cocktail.
What's most important? Because like I think in my mind the most important would be like what color it is.
No, you got to go with the Osage County default mixed drink. We all know what that is all together
pink
now.
Natural
Gin
Light?
Ricky.
Yeah.
Or Ricky is, yeah.
Yeah, one of our cousins recently did that for her wedding, and it was good. The fiance, he's known forever. He's doing like a Seagram's 7 and 7.
I like it.
So I'm trying to pick something that is, opposite of that.
I think it's good. I think that's fun for weddings, and I think it's creative.
Manhattan or an old fashioned and kind of go old school on it. Maybe.
Well, and I'm also trying to pick something that's kind of cheap.
You have to if you're going to have 3 wedding dresses, Hannah.
Oh no!
But
don't start that rumor.
But I do think, I think it's interesting, and for folks in business, you're constantly weighing. I mean, Ashley, you're a businesswoman. I'm a businesswoman. You're constantly, I think, weighing like how much do I stick to traditions and how much am I trying to be trendy? And I think, whether you're, in medicine, whether you're in law, whether you're in whatever, whether in bartending, you're trying to debate, do I go with the trends or do I just stick to the classic old fashioned? And I think can be a good mixture of both. We got a little tip from some friends behind the scenes here that said, hey, like the Barbie stuff's going on, Taylor Swift's going on. Like it's cool. You can be trendy. And sometimes we're trendy. Not always, but you can be 67 and get a tattoo like the governor if you really want.
That's right.
I like that. But I was in a bar recently and they had capitalized on the Barbie movie, and I thought it was so cute. They had kind of like the menu of the day, and they had like a Ken and like you said, Hannah, like a signature drink. They had a Ken and a Barbie, and then like a Malibu Beach. And of course, the Barbie drink was pink. The Ken drink was more manly. And I was like, oh, this is
unlike Ken.
Okay, yeah, maybe it should have been pink too. The Malibu, there was like, I think the Malibu thing was like bright green. They had some blue thing too. But I thought, it got me thinking of, when I'm applying these lessons in my own business, how can I be creative and kind of capitalize on the trends to, to increase my business? So I liked seeing this article about the layered cocktails. I think it's okay to be a little bit trendy, even though I'm more of a traditional girl. So, okay, coming up next, we have
buck naked.
We were talking earlier about people who don't know how to behave in public.
Here we go. Well, I don't know. This was sanctioned. If you've ever dreamed of standing naked in New York City, and you've been to the city, with dozens of strangers while artists turn your skin into a work of art, you may have missed your chance. What? Last month's body painting day in the Apple was the final edition for more than a decade of artists turning nude bodies into works of art. The organizer said more than 50 people were painted over 4 hours in Manhattan's Union Square. They decided this year's event would be the last because it's, quote, time to move on and clear that plate. I'm not sure what that means. Sunday's body painting wrapped up. The artists and models marched through Greenwich Village, posed for a photo in Washington Square Park, rode the double-decker bus over the Manhattan Bridge, and ended the day with a party in Brooklyn. And this is on the books. It didn't stop police, though, in 2011 from trying to halt it. The organizer and 2 models were arrested and detained for 24 hours, but the judge said nothing illegal or immoral about it.
What?
And that is it on the body painting for the Big Apple.
Since when was being naked in public not a crime?
I guess. Well, it's a naked cowboy right there in Times Square.
Well,
right?
and I know they've had those naked bike rides, right? But this has to violate some provision of law, right?
Well, they're not doing it anymore, so that kind of maybe speaks to public consumption or the lack thereof, I guess.
And then I have to wonder, I'm looking at some of the pictures I Googled. I probably shouldn't have. But you see kids face painting. It's itchy. It smears. It runs. It's a giant mess. I can't imagine being completely covered in this. I wonder.
How would you like to be the guy who had to clean the seats on the double-decker bus after they all rode?
But then my next question with that painting is, do they clean the brushes and stuff between each person? That also grosses me out.
And do they use a brush or is it airbrush?
Oh, that's
is
good.
it sponge painting? What?
Yeah.
I don't know the end. What kind of paint is it? Right?
I think a lot of it's airbrushed.
Really? Kind of maybe makeup then.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like the TikTok video where the lady doing her makeup and turns into a tiger.
Oh my goodness. I can't even imagine what that would be like and why it's persisted into 2023. People are so riled up. I mean, over all sorts of different things. I would hypothesize with less nudity than naked body painting in the middle of a city, and yet we let this persist. It's one of those things where you're like, well, how'd they get away with this?
Mm-hmm.
But I just got a text message reference Hannah's wedding, which is coming up on Labor Day Thursday, I think, this year. And it's from firefighter Dave, who says, a drink for the wedding. How about the Moscow Mule?
I do love a good mule.
I don't even know if I've ever had one of those.
Vodka and ginger beer and lime, and it's become an old drink that's back again. That wasn't a bad suggestion. Wouldn't be too tough to make.
See, I am still very much in the fruitier the better,
Mai Tais and things like that.
Yeah,
you're in your 21-year-old era.
Yeah,
that will change.
Really sweet flavored vodka.
Although they're saying, Harlan's texting us and saying you can do Congress vodka and tonic. It's cheap. But he said you got to double lime it. So apparently if you add a little bit of fruit, maybe it might mask some of the cheaper liquor flavors.
No, the old line is if you put limes in a vodka and tonic,
And yesterday, you know when you have your heart really set on something for lunch, and I was walking around downtown Jefferson City, and I had my heart set on this place, and I roll up, and it has a sign on the front that says closed today, and I was just devastated, and I thought, you know what, I'm really not having the best day. And later, I'm scrolling through my phone, as one does, and
it was TikTok. Don't be scared to say it.
And this clip caught me off guard.
I could never do that. I could never do that. I have a Cuban mom that escaped communism, okay? The only reason I know that is because she told me every morning. So I don't know how you woke up in the morning, but for me, it's good morning, Marcelo. Have a great day, but just remember, I free you. She's a scary woman. In my house, you can't have a bad day. When your mom escapes communism, you can't have a bad day. You get home from school, you're like, Mom, I had a bad day at school. She's like, what happened? What happened that was so bad? Did somebody steal your freedom today?
So on this Feel Good Friday, that was a really good reminder for me after I was kind of feeling sorry for myself that we still live in the best country on the planet, and that we are free with the help of our people like our Attorney General, who was in court yesterday fighting for our First Amendment freedoms. Brian, somebody who was kind of having a bad day yesterday, what was going on at Boone Health with the lockdown real quick?
Again, I don't have all the details on that. Our news partner has a little more information, but Ben Cornelius says apparently there was some sort of threat, came in about 5:40, determined not to be credible. They did lock it down. They let people in. They let them in, but they were also letting them know, according to the reports, what was going on. So they're being very vague right now, but it was not a credible threat. It's just the hospitals in general, they always have to be, and they do. They have to be aware of any sort of thing. The other thing that we've seen, and it wasn't this specific case, is in some cases patients actually are assaulting their physicians. We've seen that actually came up in hearings I covered at the Capitol. Justin Hill, when he was a member of the legislature, had hearings on it, and that's happening more and more, unfortunately, across the state. So this one, again, because it didn't turn out to be credible, they're not going to probably release a whole lot more information on that. But that's what happened. It was all cleared. Took about an hour.
All right. Thanks for the update on that. And now we are joined by Harry Otto, who is the Western District Commissioner of Cole County. You may or may not know, he does have a previous history with the auditor's office. And the auditor has been in the news and catching some grief lately over his actions regarding the abortion IP. So I hope we can get into that later. But first, Harry, tell us a little bit about what Cole County is working on right now.
Well, yesterday we had what we call one of those 5-handled shovel incidents out in the Algoa area. Some groundbreaking for what's called CART, the Capital Area Railroad Terminal. This is going to be quite a deal. It's a spur off of the Union Pacific line that it exists today. Not much of a line today. It serves a few facilities out there, but it's going to have a terminal where it comes in and the area businesses can get a lot more shipped in and out of the area by rail. That's just late-breaking news. It's a great idea. We got some federal and state money to make it happen. We'll be looking for some more state money next session to improve it and expand it. It's quite a deal for the capital area.
Harry, talk to us. Jefferson City Council, as we reported earlier this week, unanimously endorsed a proposal by Central Missouri Community Action for a complex to be named Stronghold Landing, which was basically low-income housing for the capital city, and that workforce housing we've heard the term on. And they said they were going to pursue some disaster recovery funds and some housing credits. I know the county commission's been intimately involved in these same discussions, haven't you?
We have. Last year, the commission went on record and endorsed, I think at the time, 3 proposals, and maybe a 4th one trickled in later. So we were on board with this a year ago. And then at the meeting just a couple of days ago on Tuesday, we said we would send that same support letter again for this single application. Yes.
I know when we talked to you about this same issue, And there was a lot of pushback for people who said, well, this is low-income housing, and I'm not in my backyard and all. And you pointed out that Cole County's had one that's been in operation just fine for a couple decades.
That's right. These places are well maintained, and they do pay real estate taxes. It's not government owned. It is privately owned, but it does get an incentive, a tax incentive to make this thing happen. And they serve some low income people. They can have moderate income people in there as well. They have to have the right mix. And when I was at the auditor's office and when I was at DED, Economic Development, I saw communities fighting and scratching to get these things. And our community, the first time around, didn't fight and scratch for it, but this time we're more united on it.
Now, you mentioned state funding. I know a lot of locals, I know specifically, I think down in the Springfield area and the St. Charles area, were unhappy with some of the governor's line item vetoes. So kind of two questions here. How did Cole County fare with as far as the funding that you had hoped would be coming in and what you ultimately, have ended up with at this point? And then also, as you're kind of prepping that list, obviously resources are limited. What are you going to be seeking some participation by the state for next year?
Well, we did have a line that was inserted in House Bill 4, the Transportation Appropriations Bill, and we had a line in there for $2 million for this rail terminal, and we felt good about it, but the governor lined that item out as well as areas all around the state. They were not in the original drafting of the bill. I will go to the signing of this bill next Tuesday in Columbia. We still like the governor. Maybe we'll be asking him to reconsider and put it in his initial HB4 for the next session.
And so that's going to be on the top of your list?
That will certainly be on the top of our list. We're going ahead with the building of this facility, but it would allow us to add another couple of tracks in there and more opportunities for more businesses to ship in and out. Yes.
Okay, talk to us about how you're interacting with other entities there in Cole County. I'm always interested. I wish, being in Ashland, I wish there was a little bit more communication between the various levels of government, but obviously Jefferson City's had some changes, just hired a new city administrator. You've got the chamber there. I mean, how are you communicating and trying to, especially like on the economic development front, present a united front to make Mid-Missouri better?
Well, we now have the JC REP, the Regional Economic Partnership, that kind of split off from the chamber. And actually, they were very important in this most recent thing. Luke Holtschneider, Missy Bono, and Paul Sampson over there bring a wealth of experience to the community. And I think we end up meeting Ron Fitzwater, mayor, and the councilman at some of these meetings all the time. And we're getting along pretty well.
Maybe a follow-up question to the rail terminal. Where are we at on the Capital City River Terminal? I mean, we haven't heard much about that in the news in a while.
Well, I've been involved in that, and it is frustrating. Initially, we had Rudy Veit. This was several years back. Rudy went to the legislature and obtained legislation that allowed for the conveyance of property out in the Algoa area, state-owned property, for the proposed port. As it turns out, that area is really not very. It's in the floodway, but almost everything is in the floodway or the floodplain. It had some cultural issues, which were the Osage Native Americans out there. Some just pottery, but some of them burial areas, and you have to stay away from that. And actually, the most important thing is we couldn't get the rail in there. Union Pacific would not let us get a rail line to that spot. We're not going to have one anywhere we go, probably. But the riverbank was not conducive. I've said this before. Nature was much kinder to Callaway County than they were to Cole County when it came to the river channel and the river bank and the good water. And I've learned terms about good water, good bank, and these revetments and dikes and wing dikes, and you got to work all around all of those things. So that is not going to be the spot for our port. We still have. Some days it's 2, some days it's 3 other sites that we're considering, but we can't really get into the details because once you get into details of real estate for a public entity that's trying to acquire it, it makes it difficult to negotiate.
Good morning, Mr. Otto. Could you give us an update on the courthouse clock?
Well, it's not good news right now. We can't get it staying on time. I've threatened to turn it off and put it at 5 o'clock, change the name of the town to somewhere.
I like this plan. What's the hang up? It's just the...
It's 100 and the hang up probably is it's 102 years old. Now, we did find somebody that knows how to work on these clocks, Sean Barnes out of Cape Girardeau, and he's working as hard as he can to make it work. He's been up here, dismantled it, took it back, cleaned it, had to actually manufacture some new parts, widgets here and cogwheels there with all these pieces, and they came back and it was working there for a while. But something's in there. There's a gremlin in there somewhere that we haven't found, but we're going to stay on it until we get it going right.
The same gremlin that eats all my socks out of the dryer, right. I think. Just unexplainable. You spent quite a bit of time in the auditor's office, and, our current state auditor has been catching some grief over the abortion initiative, and he is responsible for writing a fiscal note that's been in court, of course, with the Attorney General first, and now the proponents have sued. And I think part of the grief is, well, you're just seeking, there's this delay, and I think that was levied at the Attorney General, but, you're writing it in a way that, is either fair or unfair. I tried to explain to people, and this is my opinion, I want to kind of see if you agree. I'm hoping you'll back me up on this. But, these lawsuits, they're part of the process. They happen. They're frequent. And I want to get your feel. Do you think the criticism being levied at the auditor's office right now over the IP is warranted?
Well, my experience there, we didn't have anything this controversial at my time there. The auditor can write a 50 word note, and doesn't count conjunctions, us and thus, A's than us. But you got to get down to 50 words, so you really got to get precise. What does this proposed legislation petition, what is the dollar and cents of that? We just never ran it. Our biggest problem was getting down to 50 words. We had to go back to some thesaurus. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
A dictionary. How can we shorten this thing to get down to 50 words? We never had anything as controversial as this issue, and I guess we didn't have a fight between two statewide officers, or maybe even three, with SOS, the auditor, and perhaps the AG, not on the same page.
But it sounds like at the heart of it, you guys were on the right track and trying to, get the most information to voters. And I think that, that's where I see the auditor, here now is saying we got to get, the words on that page on the ballot matter. And we need to make sure that, we're getting the right and the best information, accurate information out to the voters. It sounds like even though maybe the issues weren't as controversial back then, that you guys were really focused. And 50 words as a lawyer, I am often criticized for being long-winded, especially in my writing. So 50 words is not as many as you think they are, is it?
It is very tough. And the other thing with the fiscal note, or as some folks in the Capitol call it, the physical note, it's really the direct costs that you can see, not these indirect costs that are about three sheets away from the cost that's going to be right in front of the user or the consumer or the taxpayer.
Mm-hmm. In lawyer speak, we'd call those like speculative, calls for speculation. So I appreciate your insights there, because I know it's a hot topic and on the minds of a lot of folks. Okay, producer Hannah is telling me we got to go, but we really appreciate you giving us an update on Cole County. Well, it is time for the morning bell, and apparently the Futures decided to get in on the Remember Everyone Deployed day wearing their red. They are in the red across the board this morning, all down as the market prepares to open. And if there's anybody who knows how to make a buck, it sure seems like it's Elon Musk. He knows that the way to make some extra cash when you got some extra stuff on your hand is a good old-fashioned garage sale, although he's in tech, so his garage sale is actually an online auction, and you've got to see this page. It is absolutely wild. It's done by, if you just Google Heritage Global Partners, you can see the stuff, pictures of the things that are actually up for sale. Bidding starts at $25, but you can, because he's rebranded to X, there's all sorts of bird stuff. There's a bird-shaped wood coffee table. That would be sweet. A light-up bird neon sign, hashtag neon signs, @ neon signs. I think this is amazing. A chair, a bird cage hanging daybed. That would be good in someone's like college apartment. Or anyone like collect weird memorabilia? I actually think I want to bid on something.
I'm trying to look it up right now to see what we can bid on.
If you are
Nominee now for the winners and losers of the week.
All right. I love this time on Feel Good Friday. Let's get our nominations in. You can text us at 573-874-9390. We love our local winners and losers of the week. My loser of the week has to go to Josh Duggar. We talked about him earlier this week, but apparently the appeals court upheld his conviction.
Good.
He's done some bad stuff, and he is a loser, so we will start off with him. But my winners for the week are, it's back to school season, folks, and that means there are just so many extra things for parents going on. And so Mid-Missouri parents, you are my heroes. I know, I see you. I see all the extra registrations and everything else. And I think this guy got it exactly right.
Hey, I just got their back to school emails. Wow, there's a lot. Okay, welcome back. Your school supply lists include everything you already bought, but in a different color. That's helpful. The supply list can be found in your ZableZoot account. Oh, and all students and parents got new logins and passwords for their ZableZoot accounts, which can be found in your Zorkel app. Did we ever figure out which one that was? No? Which also just got brand new passwords and logins. Cool. Good luck with that. Good luck with that.
Good luck with that. I know, and that was particularly funny to me because Ashland has redone all of their logins and everything else, and I have not been into the system,
I haven't either.
But we totally revamped our programming, and so trying with the Remind app and the other apps and the I get lost. But
I did panic this week though because I also have not done. I'm like, does that mean I have to re-register my kid? I'm not going to see what class they're in until I do that.
I don't know. I do know we're behind on finding out our teachers, but I know there's just so much extra, lots of emails, lots of sports are starting back up. I know football, fall sports for younger kids, those practices are already back up and running. So shout out and to all my parents out there who are working a full-time job probably and also trying to manage a full-time career in extracurricular activities and school supply scavenger hunts. Yes. So appreciate that. Brian, you got some winners and losers?
I don't have Stephanie and Dr. Emmel. I don't have any losers, but I have two winners. One is Columbia Mall. I was at the Ready Board meeting. We talked about it yesterday. The Rally House going out there, $150 million in sales, and it's really looking good. I mean, they're trying to get some new restaurants in there. I talked to Rusty Strootman for a story, so we have to do that. And a lot of people, by the way, weighing in on 93.9 The Eagle Facebook page and the KWS Facebook page on that. Second winner is Reverend James Gray. I'm going to nominate him. I was in court on Monday. He may have worn this shirt before. I haven't seen it before, but he had a shirt on, Reverend James Gray, Second Missionary Church here in town, of many people. And I believe they're all homicide victims. And it was very hard to see. Very powerful shirt. He was there to show support for the young man who was killed in the Douglas Park over $3 for the dice game. And he was there also to show support for the mother who really had a hard time talking from the podium about her son being murdered. It was really hard to hear that. I mean, I wish people could be in that position. I know they have to work, but in a courtroom to hear what she said about the loss. Didn't really talk about the defendant too much, but the loss of her son, burying her son, how difficult that has been. And James Gray, the Reverend, was there to support her. So I'm going to nominate him for his efforts to try to stop the violence. He's a winner of the week as well.
And certainly to highlight really important and some tough issues in a respectful way.
Very much so.
I think is another reason why he should be a winner of the week. And I know Brandon has a lot of respect for the way that he's able to do that.
And that shirt was powerful.
Ashley, you got a winner, loser of the week?
I have a winner, no losers. But the people of Maui, those wildfires, I've never seen anything like it. And like we talked this morning, the travelers, the people on vacations not knowing where to go, and the pictures of just cars standing still where you can see that those people jumped into the water to save themselves. It's horrifying if they're winners for everything they've gone through this week.
Yeah, and they're coming together, and it looks like everyone's pulling in the same direction now they're promising to rebuild and try to get them back on the right track. So
Boone County Task Force 1 sending a couple people as well, but you're right about the people jumping into the water, and there's sharks in some of those oceans and stuff.
All of that stuff.
It's terrifying. Well, I had another winner of the week. I would say Simone Biles. She's been out of the competition for like 2 weeks. Apparently, she made her return last weekend, and it was glorious. And she did, it was everything you could expect from Simone Biles. So she bowed out, I think, after was it the Tokyo Olympics? She had some mental health issues, but making a comeback. I always like a comeback story. So exciting to see her. John, who's on your list of winners and losers?
Well, I've got a couple winners and a loser, and from the world of sports, we'll keep it right there. St. Louis Cardinals not having the greatest year. But Paul Goldschmidt this week now has 1,101 ribbies. So pretty good for old Goldie. Funeral
Stephanie, do you know what a ribby is?
Man.
Yeah. Don't have a lot of RBIs in softball, do you?
I have one at least.
I'm sure more.
Yeah.
How about our frequent political candidate and veterans activist, Leonard Steinman, a winner? He passed away over the weekend. And for people who are wondering, the visitation is Monday afternoon in Jefferson City, and the funeral is Tuesday. And our loser of the week, a Jefferson City woman charged with DWI and other offenses after crashing on the Missouri River Bridge and allegedly threatening workers at the scene on the bridge with a hatchet.
Exactly, and allegedly displaying a crowbar as well. And then allegedly, a pro tip for any alleged criminals out there: don't struggle with the police with drugs in the car. So they have apparently found that as well. Allegedly, yes.
I mean, I'm just thinking, like, all of the things they tell you to carry in your car in case of emergencies, I don't think crowbar and hatchet are on the list. Not normal things I just
her safety kit
carry around in my car.
And drugs as well, apparently.
Well, I think there's, unfortunately, probably more people with drugs in their car than you would hope. Ashley, you turned me onto this. I think these folks are also a winner of the week. These UPS drivers. Oh, my gosh. Maybe is Branden just saying he's on vacation and really getting his CDL? Is that
moonlighting? Yeah.
Well, if he's from Iowa and has a CDL, Shady Gators is looking for it.
Okay, so there is this meme, and we should. So there's a gal, and it's kind of like a old school Craigslist misconnections.
Yeah. So it's this big, like, bad photoshopped graphic. It says, "Hey there. Were you at the Shady Gator and Coconuts at the Lake of the Ozarks on the 29th? Did we make out? Is your name Branden? Do you have a CDL?" And it's all these questions. And our friend Shags over on one of our sister stations tagged the show in this post and said, "Hey, where's Branden been?"
Uh-oh. Called out, although she did spell his name wrong, but I'm guessing maybe
he spells his name wrong.
Well, Shags does point out that the guy that she is looking for is 6'3", so our Branden is probably safe, but it still made me laugh.
That is wonderful. I've seen that graphic all over my socials this week. But as far as the UPS drivers go, apparently they negotiated a new contract, which full-time drivers are going to be paid $170,000 a year.
Wow.
They're saying that folks on Indeed who are shopping or who are searching for UPS or United Parcel Service, those searches are up 50%. No joke.
No kidding.
Yeah, imagine that, huh?
That's more than it's more than the governor makes.
It's a lot of money.
No joke.
It's a lot of money.
Well, and you think, though, the demand is so high, you have to have this, you have to have special driving certification. Yep. And then with the trucking company Yellow going out of business, I'm certain that, we knew the demand before for trucking services was high, but they couldn't have helped.
No, it couldn't have. But those guys work hard.
They do.
I appreciate our UPS driver at my business. He brings a lot of packages every day for supplement side of our business that we do. And it's crazy, but yeah, $170,000.
That is a lot of money.
It's a very good wage.
Very good.
Yeah, and especially for younger folks or folks in Missouri. I mean, that's what's the median wage in Boone County? 50,000.
49,306. According to I just heard that the other day at Ready. It's down $400.
But who's counting?
Yeah. And did they say what the salary was before? Was it around 140, 130?
I had no idea.
I didn't either.
I don't know either. It's just that number really surprises me.
Me too.
I know Senator Blunt and Governor Nixon before that, Governor Greitens, they've all tried to get more truck drivers. They've talked about it, but I've never heard that salary mentioned at all. Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
It really is. Well, the other winner of the week from earlier, Branden had played earlier this week the Neo audio. Now, if you're not familiar with Neo, Hannah, did you know who Neo was? He was before your
I've heard the name, familiar with the name, could have told you he's a rapper. Beyond that, nothing.
Okay, well, apparently he did an interview, was kind of asked about transgender issues, and he gave a response. He has kids. Go ahead.
Well, I'm going to let you finish, and then I've got a rebuttal to your winner of the week nomination.
You don't think he should? Well, and then his PR company came out and said, we apologize for the comment he said. You asked me a question. I gave you my honest answer, and I think that's fair. I liked what he said. You didn't like what he said?
Well, I was going to say he apologized for it right after, and that, in my mind, made him a loser of the week. But
well, yeah. I mean, but ultimately he stuck by his guns. So I just appreciate that. And I think also Mizzou football coach this week who commented, we got a lot, and that was Monday. There was a lot of press over the weekend on his comments on the shakeup amongst the various what do you call them?
The conferences.
Yeah, the conferences. And he said, sorry.
Yay, sports.
Yay, sports. But, I think I think he should be nominated for winner of the week because his focus was on the student athlete. And he said, yeah, we all like to talk about the TV deals and this and that and the other, but we really should focus on student athletes, and we should and recognize that football is not the only sport. And so these other sports, we got to worry about the students and the travel. And I think, that right. got a lot of good headlines. And I think, also, I think his focus and his heart in those comments is in the right place. So
yeah, I think you bring up a great point. What we're talking about is USC and UCLA. There's many other things happening, but basically they're going to be going to the Big Ten. So not theoretically, it will happen. Rutgers is going to be playing at USC and vice versa. Or Maryland. They've got all sorts of schools that are involved in this, and Maryland's another example. And you're talking about traveling all the way across the country for various sports, as opposed to, the Southeastern Conference generally in one area. It's a different era. It really is. And you're seeing these super conferences, and the Pac-12 is really in some serious jeopardy
about gone.
Now. Yeah, I mean, they're there, but they're
Pac-4, right?
Yeah, I'm not so sure. I mean, yeah. Yeah.
Well, Brian, I know Coach pointed out, too, that the kids in the down sports don't have the luxury of the big charter aircraft. They have to fly commercial, come home, get up, and go to class.
That's right. And when you're talking about going, let's say it's a USC flight to Piscataway, New Jersey, and taking commercial, you're talking about it might be 2 days of travel. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a long, and vice versa. So I don't know. I definitely am not a fan of it, but I understand what you're saying, and Coach Drinkwitz raised awareness. He's trying to be careful because people will always try to, create controversy or whatever, but I got what he was saying. I certainly did. And he was really trying to talk about the student athlete.
I appreciated that. Well, coming up next, we are going to get to our leftovers, and we're going to talk It is almost time for the Gary Nolan Show. I know Brandon's dad will be excited. Ashley, you are so involved here in the community, and particularly with True North. What are the next big True North things we should be looking forward to?
So mark your calendars. August 25th, we're having a radiothon. We would love you to listen in and support. Donate if you can. If you can't, we would love you to go to truenorthofcolumbia.org and make a donation, or maybe set up a monthly donation. There are some great tax credit too. If you donate over a certain percent, you can get up to a 70% tax credit.
Awesome.
And then August 14th, we have our Men as Allies fundraiser. It's at CCMO. You have to be registered to attend just so we have enough seats, but it's a great awareness event for men in our community to show your support and help us prevent sexual and domestic violence.
Appreciate that. Hey, John, what you got in your fridge?
This is one we picked up on. Liberals on X are expressing anger and disdain at a photo of actor Woody Harrelson wearing a hat displaying support for presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. They're mad because he's supporting the anti-establishment Biden candidate, who's now even on the campaign trail questioning COVID protocols and all. And I thought it was funny. One of the detractors said, "This is the first time we've ever seen the balding Woody Harrelson in a hat without a pot leaf on it."
Perfect. Now it's just got a kook on it, right? According to Jennifer. Well, if there is one way to get Brandon all riled up, it's to talk about parks, which is really interesting.
Or gender reveals.
Yes.
Or bodily functions.
Shoes.
Yeah.
Actual shoes. But he always complains about how they have multiple funding streams, and the last time they went out for their tax, he was very vocal about it. And what's interesting to me about this, and since he's not here, we can say this about him, but I think if I look at all the people in my life, he might be the person who uses the Columbia parks the most.
So he loves the trails.
He loves the trails. And so I'm like, you're getting your money's worth, right?
That's right.
And I'm usually a huge park supporter. But when I saw this number, I thought, what on earth? So the ABC 17 is reporting Columbia Parks and Recreation seeks a budget increase. And you're thinking, okay, yeah, most departments probably need at least, a CPI increase, an increase to cover inflation. They are seeking a total 19.4% increase over last year's budget, bringing their total proposal to $19.8 million.
Well, Brandon should get his own park with that deal.
I know. Maybe I'll name one after him.
If he had any hair, it would be on fire. And I suspect if we bring this to his attention, he is going to be on fire about it on Monday. Apparently, the Parks Department wants 3 additional FTE positions, a senior admin support position, a Parks and Grounds specialist, and a maintenance assistant. They also are some of the increases due to additional materials and supplies, also utilities, which I know all residents in Columbia are facing big time increases.
You know what my dad used to tell me growing up?
Sure.
You can want in one hand and you can crap in the other hand. See which one fills up first.
Well, they have a lot of wants. Of course, Columbia will be wading through that budget process, and I'm sure there will be things on the chopping block. But I just thought, even asking for a 20% increase, in this